Category 4 Severe Tropical Cyclone Jasper has peaked and is now threatening a devastating landfall on Cairns by the middle of next week. Your latest update on Severe Tropical Cyclone Jasper, a Category 4 strength system brought to you by Force 13 Australia. This is a very threatening storm to land. Cairns could get absolutely belted by this system on around Wednesday or Thursday next week. The forecast is becoming clearer and clearer with every passing model run. Here is your latest information brought to you by the Force 13 network. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well and leave a like on the video while you're at it, and tell us how we can improve in the comment section down below. So here is a look at our forecast track plus a view of meteorology. It's a Category 4 strength system right now. Peak sustained winds of 195 kilometers an hour, tickling Category 5 status, gusting to 270 kilometers an hour. Headlining a significant landfall is possible because of Cyclone Jasper, with destructive rainfall totals and wind speeds expected as this storm crosses the coast, possibly around Cairns in around 5 to 6 days' time. The storm expected to weaken from here on out over the next 3 days as wind shear gets to it, but then beyond that, as it moves into the more western extremities of the Coral Sea, we'll likely be seeing some pretty significant intensification just before landfall. So here's a look at the multi-model diagnostics right now. You can see the forecast models and best tracks saying that the storm has peaked with winds of around 120 knots at this time. Wind shear is now increasing. It's up to around 25 knots. Wind shear is pretty hostile to the storm right now, and it will be weakening the system gradually over the coming sort of 2 to 3 days. But you can see wind shear and sea surface temperatures become far more favorable for this storm as it nears the coastline, the Queensland coastline, where a direct landfall is possible in around 6 days' time, which will likely mean that the storm is strengthening, and that is also indicative in the Bureau of Meteorology forecast, with a Category 3 severe tropical cyclone positioned just offshore from Cairns in around 5 days' time. So here's a look at our forecast cone for Severe Tropical Cyclone Jasper. You can see it's a Category 4 right now. We're expecting it to dip down to Category 2 status in line with the Bureau of Meteorology forecast by around day 2, and they'll hold that intensity till about day 4 when strengthening is expected, and then come sort of Tuesday next week we'll see this storm gear up for its landfall, its final approach onto Queensland around Cairns, Cooktown, Atherton, that sort of region, where we'll likely be seeing some strengthening, and a Category 3 landfall is looking more and more possible in the Cairns area right now, but there'll be more on that later on in the video. We're going to go right into depth into this. Satellite imagery courtesy of weathernodes.com. You can see the storm right now looking really impressive indeed for a Category 4 severe tropical cyclone. A nice eye-like feature in the center of the storm. It's blasting some very nice convection, especially around the western side of the storm. Fantastic outflow down towards the south. That's indicative of the wind shear that's starting to increase. Pretty good low-level circulation as well, which is affecting the Solomon Islands as well. Good banding features over towards the western side of the storm. This storm is very strong indeed, and you can see that through the satellite imagery. Let's jump into a forecast right now. You can see the GFS model calling for this gradual weakening on this system, holding Category 3 status until about now before losing it and becoming this sort of Category 2, maybe even a Category 1 strength system, heading further northwest, and then as it gears up for landfall on its final approach, it rapidly intensifies to what looks to be a Category 4 strength landfall as per the latest GFS forecast. It then dances around the Gulf of Carpentaria north of Mornington Island for a little bit, where we'll likely be seeing some regeneration of the storm if that does happen. Now I'm freezing it on the landfall right now. You can see that is a strong tropical cyclone of at least Category 3 proportions there. Sustained winds probably approaching 150 kilometers an hour. That is worrying indeed, very worrying indeed. We're watching this very, very closely. Here's a look at the total accumulating precipitation. This is another major threat and factor in the storm. You can see the storm blowing up in size just before landfall, and it looks like rainfall totals in those deep blues. We'll be seeing rainfall totals exceed 600 millimeters in some locations around Innisfail and Tully, famously the wettest places in Australia. You can see Cairns as well expecting an absolute drenching of around 500 millimeters from this system, and if you saw later on in the forecast run, the entirety of the Gulf of Carpentaria and its coastline could also see some pretty significant rainfall from the remnants of this system. And just playing it through one last time, you can see widespread totals above 300 millimeters expected. Now let's jump into some forecast models from windy.com. So here's a current look at the system right now. It isn't looking too flash, I must admit. It's still definitely a Category 4 though because of wind lag. You can see the eye still in the center of the system and a defined eye wall, which you can see here with these convective tops blowing up. The western side of the storm still definitely the strongest. Not sure how long this is going to hold out for. Good banding features around the storm, but what's worrying is not right now. It's what we could be seeing in the next couple of days. So let's jump right into the the forecast now. We're taking a look at the ECMWF forecast model first. The storm currently located over here. It's going to be moving in this sort of southwesterly trajectory over the coming couple of days before it starts to move in the more westerly trajectory by around sort of what looks to be about Sunday, midday Sunday, and then it will make its final approach towards Queensland. It gets to around Monday evening, Tuesday, very early Tuesday morning actually, before any sort of strengthening is expected to take place again. The ECMWF really doesn't blow this system up before landfall to the degree of the the other forecast models do. But again, by around Wednesday, sort of Wednesday morning, we're seeing this landfall just north of Cairns here, which will bring the worst conditions ashore on Cairns. In fact, it does look like Cairns gets the eye of this system. So yeah, anywhere sort of between Cape Tribulation down towards Innisfail on this on this run, we'll be getting cyclone force winds and cyclone conditions Wednesday morning, very early Wednesday morning, and conditions should then start to ease up into Wednesday afternoon and evening. Again, rainfall looks to be the main threat from this system as per this run. That's really only a category 1 or 2 cyclone that makes landfall here from this forecast model, but rainfall again very, very intense indeed, up to about 100 millimeters per hour in some locations, especially in the more mountainous terrain around Port Douglas, that sort of area. We'll be seeing some very significant rainfall totals from this system. But the more worrying forecast model right now is the GFS. The GFS has been playing this system up quite substantially over the past couple of forecast runs. It's now taking a landfall just north of Cairns. It's been really consistent with this scenario indeed. In fact, the ECMWF and the GFS are landfalling within kilometers of each other, so very good certainty right now. And you can see a significant tropical cyclone making landfall here, indicative of these pink winds. They're about 60 knots sustained, 50 to 60 knots sustained. We could be seeing a category 3 tropical cyclone if this forecast model was to materialize. And you can see that is a very, very powerful tropical cyclone making landfall, the strongest to make landfall on Queensland since Cyclone Debbie of 2017. So this is a worrying scenario to have set up for us. And I believe the Access model as well has just jumped onto the scenario as well. A Cairns landfall early Thursday morning local time, again as a category 3 or category 4 strength tropical cyclone. Very strong indeed. This is at the higher end of what we could be expecting. The picture will become a lot more clearer in the coming sort of 48 hours or so. By Sunday evening, Monday morning, we'll know pretty much exactly where this storm is going to make landfall and how strong it will be. But right now we are looking at a very, very grim picture for Cairns, a category 3 or category 4 strength cyclone making landfall there. That is not a pretty scenario indeed. The Archon model is still doing its thing, dancing this cyclone around in sort of the Coral Sea, Solomon Sea, that sort of area. It's been doing that consistently for the past couple of days, so nothing new there. Waves are going to be a major threat from this system. If we take a look at the ECMWF model, we can be expecting significant wave heights approaching the sort of 8 to 9 meter mark, I believe, Tuesday into Wednesday. A storm surge of around 10 feet, that's about 3 meters, could be expected anywhere between Townsville up towards Cooktown, this sort of area, especially anywhere south of the system. Anywhere south of where this system makes landfall, we'll get this nasty onshore flow, these very strong easterly winds because of how the cyclone will be rotating. We'll be seeing this we'll be seeing the most significant damage just towards the south of the storm in its southern destructive core, and that's where we're going to be seeing the worst storm surge between Cairns and Townsville if these forecast models do materialize. So let's see what's driving this system up to this intensity. So as it approaches landfall, sea surface temperature is about 28 to 29 degrees Celsius. What this means is the storm is going to have plenty of fuel and energy to be able to build a ton of convection around its center, and more convection, more thunderstorm activity means the stronger the cyclone. So the warmer these sea surface temperatures, the grimmer the picture is for the Queensland coastline, basically, and the grimmer the picture it is for Cairns. And around 29 degrees Celsius, that's plenty of fuel for this tropical cyclone to rapidly and maybe even at times explosively intensify just before landfall. The only saving grace that I'm seeing right now is the fact that wind shear might just get to this system before over the next couple of 2 days or so. If it knocks it back down to category 1 status, the storm is going to have a hard time rapidly intensifying because it'll have to reorganize and so forth. But yeah, if it doesn't get knocked down too far and it remains a category 2, we could definitely be seeing this category 3 or category 4 strength landfall on Cairns. So to reiterate, right now the most likely landfall site is Cairns. That's a question we've been getting a lot on this channel so far on recent videos, which might I just add, thank you so much for the support. It means a lot to us. But yeah, the most likely landfall site is going to be between Cooktown and Cardwell, most likely going to be Cairns or Port Douglas, that sort of region. So if you are between Cooktown and Cardwell, I would recommend preparing for a Category 3 severe tropical cyclone landfall sometime Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday. Most likely going to be Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon at this time. But again, that picture could change dramatically over the coming couple of days, so make sure you are staying tuned to this channel and the Bureau of Meteorology for more information. Another thing that we should be preparing for is cyclone conditions anywhere south of Lockhart River right down to Bowen. There is still a risk of tropical cyclone conditions between Lockhart River and Bowen. Right now it looks like Hamilton Island, the initial forecasted landfall site, it's most likely not going to get a tropical cyclone landfall. However, strong winds could be a thing Sunday, Monday and Tuesday as this cyclone makes its final approach to the Queensland coast. So again, boating anywhere north of Rockhampton or Bundaberg could be really unpleasant indeed. So I do not recommend it. Stay in the coast, basically, if you have to go boating. There's no point in going out to sea, island hopping or anything like this. That could be a very bad idea indeed, because seas and swell are going to be elevated because of this tropical cyclone, and once again, rip currents will be a problem as well on beaches, so swimming probably not the safest thing to do either. So again, this cyclone is moving towards the Queensland coastline. It's a significant threat. I reiterate, anywhere between Cooktown and Cardwell should prepare for a Category 3 severe tropical cyclone at this time. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to get to all of them. Thank you so much for the support on this video and the support on this channel. A like is much appreciated, and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with the latest. But that is all from me on Severe Tropical Cyclone Jasper, a significant cyclone threat to Queensland, and I will catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.
Thank you for watching our content this update. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to get more updates covering all things weather and geophysics impacting Australia and the Oceania region. Subscribe to our other channels for more content from across the network, and be sure to check out our website where you can find free access to floater and radar imagery and articles on everything weather and much more. If you wish to support us directly, you can purchase some of our merchandise. We have a wide variety of clothing and homeware, or you could become an Ultimate Fan, which is the best way to directly support us, granting you some sweet perks and offers, including features in our custom storm animations, live streams, and much more.